Hey, I'm back with another Toyota video. Today's adventure is going to be going to get tires put on this thing and a few other things. We're going to look at probably getting stuff for the tune-up and doing the belts and stuff like that. But I want to show you these tires before we go in there. I just looked the date up. They're from April of 01, so they are 20-year-old tires. They're dry rotted pretty bad, but the tread is like excellent condition. This thing's been setting forever. It didn't get driven very much at all. So I'm gonna show you the tires real quick before we go in. There ain't nothing fancy, just regular like car tire. But I want to show you the cracking, the dry rot on them. It's just crazy. So we got us some new tires put on this beast. They are some Douglas All Seasons. They're a good tire for this little pickup truck. It's all she needs and all it's gonna need. They have good tread life on them and everything. So now I'm gonna walk you through on getting some maintenance items done on this. I'm gonna do a tune-up on it, and we got some other stuff that I'm gonna do. But I'm gonna show you what all I got right now. So this is the stuff we have, okay? We'll start over on this side. This is a distributor cap, rotor button. We got 4 plugs to replace, plug wires. We'll put some windshield wipers on it and the belts on it because the belts are a little dry rotted just where it's been sitting and ain't been around much. So now we're gonna get into it and I'll show you what tools you need and how to do it. So to start this process, I'm gonna explain to you some of the stuff we have. I showed you the boxes. Now, this is a distributor cap. And to put that on, one of the tools we're going to need is an 8mm little socket, 8mm socket on a 1/4-inch ratchet, and that takes the 2 screws out that actually holds this on. I'll show you that here in a second. Here's the spark plugs. I always pull spark plugs out of the box and check the gap on them. This is a gap tool. You can get them whenever you get your spark plugs. It's right there at the counter, nice and easy. Always check your spark plug gap and check what your manufacturer recommends your spark plug gap to be. With this particular motor, the 22RE, it recommends, I think it was 30 thousandths to 35 thousandths, something like that. I'll have to go back and double check. But always check your spark plug gap because you never know when the box could get dropped, and it can actually, you gotta check the gap here in between your electrode and your ground, because that's the gap that you want to check. And what will happen is if the box is dropped or anything, say it lands like this, then the gap will be closed up and you'll fight a misfire and you'll fight all kinds of issues and all kinds of problems. So just double check your gap and just make sure you're good. So this is the rotor button that goes on it. Nice and simple, just pushes on and pulls out. I'll show you that here in a second. For the spark plugs, it's going to take a 13/16 spark plug socket. And the difference between a spark plug socket and a regular socket is you'll see this where it looks like a nut on the end of it. It actually has a rubber boot inside of it to hold on to the spark plugs, so you ain't got to fish them out anywhere. It'll actually attach to the white piece here. The spark plug slides up into it, and it'll actually hold on to the spark plug so you can get it out of the motor. When it comes to spark plug wires, this truck is a 4-cylinder. It's a 22RE motor. And so that means it's going to have 4 plugs for four wires for 4 plugs, and it's going to have your coil wire. And the coil wire is the same on both sides. It's got the same end on both sides, and that's how you know the difference. Your plug wires themselves will have a long boot that goes on the spark plug themselves. That's the part that plugs into the spark plug, and this part actually plugs into the cap, the distributor cap, right here in these holes. That's what that'll plug into. Alright, so we're starting our project here. This is what we're going to be working on. So this right here is your distributor cap, all your plug wires, your 1 plug, 2, 3, and 4th spark plug is way back there. Your coil wire is this, and it runs back to the coil pack. Okay, and that's what provides spark for your distributor cap. The rotor button's actually inside this cap, and I'll show you that here in just a second whenever I get all this off. But I'm gonna start pulling the plug wires off and replacing the spark plugs. That's pretty much number one. And that way, whenever you go to put your plug wires back on, it just snaps back together and it's really easy to deal with. After we get the tune-up done, we're gonna be focusing on our belts down in there. We only have 2 belts on this. We have a belt that goes around the alternator and looks like the fan and all that. And then you got a secondary belt for the AC compressor. This truck does not have power steering, so that'll be a 3rd belt on there, but we're not doing that because it does not have power steering. So I'm gonna get you set up and I'll show you what you have to do. So, see how I showed you what won't fall out? And these plugs look pretty bad. They're kind of corroded. Okay, so now we're gonna start working on these wires. Like I said, there's 4 wires, goes to 4 plugs, and then you have a coil wire here. This is the coil wire. And I'll show you on the new cap. So this is really easy. It only goes on one way. I don't know if it'll come up or not, but this is your coil wire, and these are where your spark plug wires go to your spark plug. This goes on the bottom, and it goes in just like that, just 2 screws, and that's it. So we'll set that there. I'm gonna grab my 8mm, and I'm gonna take this off. And there it all comes. Now this is your rotor button. It just pulls on and off. It's pretty dirty in there. It only goes on one way, but you want to make sure you orient it the right way. There's the new one, there's the old one. And it's got a groove in it that it only goes on one way. So it's real easy. See how it's got a flat side right here? And you can see how it's made. Just like that, nice and easy. Now that that's done, we're gonna slide our new cap on. Goes on just like this. Just mount it up flush and then take our 8mm and screw it in. Okay, so I had to go to the parts store again because they gave me the wrong distributor cap. The distributor cap they gave me actually fit on the motor, but the wires didn't work correctly. And then after I got looking, it had the wrong insert in it for the wires for the motor. So I don't even know why that cap was an option for this motor, this 22RE. But I had to go back, and I took that back and got the right one, and it's got the locking tabs on it. It's all numbered just like the other one was. Okay, it's got the screws with it, 8mm screws, or 8mm. That's what it takes is 8mm to put these in, and nice and shiny. This is the one we need. So now we're going to put this one on, and hopefully it works. So now that we have the right cap, we're gonna try to put this on. Goes on the same as the other one did. 2 screws on it. You just slide it on. It only goes on one way. Just line the holes up. And just like before, we'll snug them down, not too tight. We can start putting our plug wires on. Like I said, the short one's gonna go on number 1. Number 1's on this one right here. Clips in just beautiful. And then we'll figure out which one's number 2. You gotta keep pushing them till you hear it click. This one's number 3. Almost. That wasn't very loud, but it clicked. Trust me. Trust me. Okay, last one. Last one. All right. Just like that. Go underneath this wire. It goes underneath there. That goes back here. Now we'll start plugging them in. And you can't hear it on the camera, but it's just they'll actually click in. See that little thing in there? It'll lock onto the spark plug. It's just pretty much find where it's lined up and push it and it'll click. Sometimes you get them centered up and push and wiggle, they'll lock in real easy. Just like that. You kind of give them a little snug, a little pull. And that's all she wrote. Now we're going to take care of all these wires. We're going to put our clips back on before we do our coil wire. So these little clips hold the wires separate. That way they don't cross. Because you can get cross firing sometimes. If the outside is damaged at all or gets wet or whatever. So that's why you put these in. And these come off the old wires. Just like that. And it's just something to keep the wires separated. This just hooked on here, just like this. And all that does is keep the wire up out of the way. Just like that. Now, for the last piece, coil wire. Just hook them in together. And that should be that. So after we're getting the tune-up done, I always like to start them, make sure they run good. So here we go. It's our first startup after the tune-up, and hopefully, I hope everything's good. If not, we'll fix whatever's not right. So here we go. So she runs like a top. Now we're gonna go and place the belts and check it out, and we'll take it on a little test drive and make sure everything's good to go with it. So I'm gonna show you up close view of these spark plugs and the cap and rotor button. They're not really that bad. I don't know if it'd focus or not, but see, they're not really that bad, but they're just got a lot of corrosion on them, and the gaps are all pretty much burnt out on them. And that's just from setting and not getting much use. And you see the gap's really wide on most of these. I haven't checked them, but yeah, they're all just corroded up. Rotor button, pretty much the same thing. It's not in bad shape, but it's just got some corrosion on it. Inside the cap, it's just a little dirty. It's really not that bad. We probably could have reused it, but it's fine. As cheap as they are, just throw a new one on it and it actually runs really, really good. Something else that I noticed, I was getting ready to put some washer fluid in it because I noticed the washer fluid wasn't coming out of the, well, where it comes out at on top of the hood, and got investigating, and this is what I found. This is the washer pump. All the plastic's gone off of it. This was actually still working, surprisingly. It was still turning, but it was just all gone. And so I needed a new washer pump, and here's the rubber boot that actually came out of the tank. How it's all tore up and dry rotted, and it's just not no good. So I just got this kit here. I got it from Advanced Auto Parts. Just a nice little universal thing. Put it in nice and easy, just 2 wires, and it was good to go. And I put it all together and went to put washer fluid in it. It was still leaking out the bottom. And it turns out the tank itself had a crack in it, pretty much right next to where the pump is. So I don't know what happened or whatever, but there was a crack about that long on the tank itself. So I had to do some plastic welding on it and got it all fixed up. So it's actually holding, and that's really good. So now I think we're going to work on doing the belts, and we're going to look at the thermostat issue that we're having. Okay, so it's a little hard to see down in here, so I'm just going to show you pretty much how it is. So this belt goes on the AC pulley right there, and to the crank goes this adjustment pulley right here. Pull this out of here so you can see a little better. There's the adjustment pulley. You can see this bolt right here. That's the adjustment bolt itself. Right here. Right there. And you get to it from underneath. If you can see my finger, maybe. See my finger underneath here? It takes a 14 millimeter, and you just unscrew that. And then this bolt on the front of the pulley, you got to loosen that up, and that is what loosens this whole thing up. So you loosen this up, and then you unscrew this, and that lets it all out. Then you just take the belt off. The other pulley, or the other belt, is right here. It's the alternator belt and water pump belt. Water pump, alternator. And the way you get it off is you take this bolt here out, or take it loose, and then there's a bolt down there on the bottom side of the alternator, and you take that loose, and then this just slides in. You pull the belt off because this is on a slide bracket, and I'll show you how to get the correct tension on it whenever I go to put them back on. But here's just the first one, and you can see how dry rotted and cracked it is. We're going to replace them, and I'll show you what they look like whenever I start putting them back on. That way I can show you how to tension them correctly and all that. So it was too close to film in there, but I got both the belts on, and I'll explain to you how to tighten these up. Like I said, to loosen them, or just adjust your screw way down in there, if I can pick it up or not. Yeah, that screw way down in there. If you get to the bottom of it, you can reach down in this hole over here beside the battery and reach down there and grab it. But that's how you adjust this. Whenever you twist right here, just twist it, and you don't want it to turn a quarter way. Same way with this one. but this one here is just a little bit different. It's got this bolt on top up here, and then it's got a bolt down at the bottom, and the bolt on the bottom is actually a 3-bolt, and it's got a nut on the back side of it. And what happened is you got to take a wrench and put on the back side of that bolt, and then come up here and grab the bolt up here and loosen it up, and that slides that whole alternator in and out. And then just fish the belt out and fish the new one back in, and then to tighten it up, you just get you a screwdriver, long one, and put it in this little gap right here, and then pry out on the alternator, and that'll move this alternator in and out on the bracket. And that's how you tighten that up. So now, and then there's the new pump I put in for the washer pump. And I gotta zip tie these wires up and take care of all that, but that's fine. I just want to make sure it holds fluid now, and it does. It's been holding fluid all night, so. So that's good. So now, last thing we're gonna do is we're gonna check this thermostat and see if there's a thermostat in it to keep it from heating up. See if it's stuck or if there's not one in it at all or whatever, but we're gonna look at it and see what we got. So the thermostat's actually located right here. It's got 2 bolts that holds it on. 1, 2, and there's a gasket in there, so I'm gonna have to go get the gasket anyhow, but I wanna make sure, I wanna see what's going on first before I go get parts. So I'll show you what's going on whenever I get it taken apart. All right, so I got the thermostat out. Here's the old thermostat. You can see it's kind of gunked up a little bit, but I don't know how easy you can see this. You can see it's actually stuck open. It's got so much gunk and corrosion and everything on it that it's actually stuck wide open. So it's not creating any pressure in the system, so it's just going to stay cool all the time. So that's bad because your defrost won't work if you're in colder climate, which this truck's going to Florida, but it still gets kind of cool. But your heater won't work, you know, it just won't get warm. The truck won't get warm, which is okay, but it needs to work properly. And so with this being stuck open, it was just bypassing this thermostat, and it wasn't allowing to build no pressure and heat up the coolant any. So here's our new thermostat. I got a new gasket for it. It's all good to go. I'm getting ready to slap it in, and I'll show you what it looks like when it's in the hole. Okay, so as you can look here, we got everything back together. Everything's looking good. All the hoses are back on. Put the new thermostat in right there. And those 2 bolts are actually 14mm bolts. So you're gonna need a 14mm for that. Nice and easy. 2 bolts, it comes off. Take this hose off. Kind of push it back out of the way. Set it over here somewhere. It's a whole lot easier if you take this air box tube off, or take it loose here and here, which is this clamp, and take this clamp here loose. These 2 come off, and then unclip your lid and just pull it out of the way. Whole lot easier to get it out of your way. So now we're gonna start it up and let it run for a while, see if it heats up. Hopefully it does. I'll top the coolant off. Everything's good to go. While I was doing this, these are the washer nozzles that were on it, and they were clogged up. So I bought new ones and put the new ones on it, and they work great. I'll show you here in a second whenever I got the hood closed. So let's fire this thing up and see where we're at. So I just got back from taking it for a drive. I'm letting it sit out here and idle. It's still not getting halfway up, which is okay, but it is coming up, which is a good thing, and the heater is hot. So if you look at it there, it is coming up now, so that's a good thing. I was going to show you how these new washer nozzles do. Look from the inside. Yeah, they do really good. Spray the whole window. The good thing about these nozzles are they are actually adjustable and you can turn them down or turn them up or turn them vertical or however you want to do it. So they can set vertical and they can stream a vertical stream, or where I got them like this, that way it covers more area of the windshield. Or you can make it to where it just sprays the bottom, or you just sprays the top, or you know, whatever you want to do. So they're really nice. Yep, get good flow coming out of them. So that's gonna be all for this video. We took care of a lot of maintenance issues, did the tune up, got it done, put the belts on it, and walked you through that whole process. Everything's very simple to do on these trucks. Very, very easy. So thanks for watching. Like and subscribe. Let me know what you liked about it. Let me know if you want to see anything else with this truck, and we'll go from there. Thank you very much.